Hi, I'm Maria Theoharis, or fellow Sews on social media. Welcome back to Sew Organised Style Podcast. Stay listening. On Sew Organised Style Podcast, I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast and pay respects to the elders past and present. Thanks for joining us on Sew Organised Style Podcast. Today, we're saying a very local hello to Kate Ward of Zen Stitching. Now, Kate's been on the podcast 6 times and on Fridays, because Fridays are the days that we usually keep for Mending or Sewing Save podcasts. Today, we're talking to Kate about what we can look forward to seeing at this year's Making Zen Online Retreat. How are you today, Kate? Can I take it that last year's very first Making Zen Online Retreat was well received? Kate, how are you today? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Maria, it's so lovely to be back and it's lovely to see you again. Lovely to be chatting with you.
And I have to say, thank you again for being on the podcast so many times, especially on the Mending Fridays. They've been invaluable and people will still go back and listen to them.
Yeah. Look, I just love it. I love chatting with you. I love sharing the enthusiasm, and it's really great to see so many people picking up the mending as a way of repairing clothes and also as a way of calming down and kind of de-stressing from busy life. It's just so wonderful on so many levels. I think it's great you can share it with so many people.
It is, and every guest has their take on what mending means to them, whether it's being mindful of climate change, the effects that they have on the environment, or even just doing something that calms them when, we're living in an environment that has a lot of anxiety built into it.
Exactly. And it's wonderful that something so simple can be so effective in such a wide range of applications. That's what I love about it. And all you need is a needle and a thread. It's even better.
You don't need a lot of equipment, and you don't need very expensive equipment, and you don't even have to have new equipment either.
Exactly. Yep, that's right. You can even find a lot of this stuff at secondhand shops, which is just fabulous. And it's such a low key, but so profound, I guess, in our experience working with it. It's pretty zen.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Sorry, listeners, we're just having fun here. Can I assume that last year's Making Zen Online Retreat was a success?
Oh, yes, it was just such an amazing experience. I received such positive feedback from all the people who either were providing workshops and also the people who were participating. Lots of feedback came from people who said it just couldn't have come at a better time. When we were in the midst of COVID and lockdown and uncertainty. It really kind of provided a bit of a getaway from that experience, a bit of a mind break. Some people were working through the grief and loss of loved ones, so they found it really beneficial to work through that way as well. And then other people just found it really great that they could be learning new skills, having this wonderful experience, and meeting a whole lot of great artists too. So it was a really wonderful sharing community. It was absolutely delightful. I loved every moment of it.
One of the highlights was that you had a lot of textile artists who were willing to share their skills, and they were so adaptable. Yeah, everything that they shared was very adaptable.
Yes, very talented people. I approached all these artists because I myself admired them. And so it was really wonderful to get all these very clever people to be sharing their skills with other people. It was great.
Now that we've had one go at the Making Zen Online Retreat, I'm really pleased that you're running it again this year.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled to be able to be doing this again too. And what's wonderful about it is we've got some of the artists participating from last year's Making Zen Retreat. And we've also got a whole lot of new artists as well, which is just wonderful. So we've got a whole lot of different people, with lots of stitchers, lots of quilters, lots of creative textile artists. So it's really going to be very exciting to see all the different demonstrations and workshops that they're going to be sharing with us. I can't wait.
When is the retreat on this year?
It's from the 2nd to the 6th of May. So coming up just in the first week of May. Each day between 4 and 5 workshops will be released, and they'll be able to view for free for 24 hours. And then you also have the opportunity that if you feel like you'd just like to purchase the whole bundle, then you can do so. And then that means you've got lifetime access to all of these great workshops and presentations.
With last year's, there were a lot of resources that the artists also offer in addition to their presentation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's such a value added event. It's just absolutely amazing. So you're being taught how to do these techniques. You're also getting downloadable documents so that you can refer back to them at your leisure. And then some of the artists are being very generous, and they're also adding additional workshops to it as well. For those who wish to purchase the VIP ticket, you're getting additional let's see, there's patchwork workshops, there's weaving workshops, there's stitching workshops, there's stitching patterns. If you're a textile artist, it's like gold.
It sounds
There's so much to do. Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of, releasing a few, like up to 4 to 5 sessions a day so that people know what's happening every day. They can log in online. And the presentations, are they very long? What's the average length that we're seeing this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the presentations, they're probably going to be around the 30-minute mark. Some will go for a bit longer, some will go for a bit shorter, but it's pretty much keeping in mind that, not everybody has hours of spare time. Yes. But you can always put aside half an hour or so to be able to dip in and do a project and follow along. With some of the videos, some of them have been edited down to kind of fit in I guess you would say, the key components, whereas others you are actually going to be sitting there and stitching and doing the making along with the artist. Even though they are pre-recorded, you have that opportunity to just sit and make.
And you'll be doing it in your own time zone as well, so you don't have to think, okay, this is being released at X hour and it's actually 2 a.m. my time.
Exactly. That's right. So that's one of the positive benefits, I think, of having pre-recorded videos is you can just log in and look at them whenever you want. There is going to be a live component, though, which is going to be super exciting too. And that's where a lot of the artists will be getting together and chatting. And it's an opportunity for the audience to ask any questions they might have, or even just to pop in, say hi to the artists and say hello. And so they will be happening on Instagram as an Instagram Live. And the great thing about that is once they happen, they're recorded and then they can be watched for perpetuity as well. Even if you can't be there in person, it's almost like being in the next room to listening to some friends speak or something like that. It's just as enjoyable.
Oh, yeah, that's the nice thing about live. Even if you can't be there live, you can see the video after the fact.
Yeah, it's almost live. I don't know. It's a really interesting way of participating, but it's still enjoyable.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Kate, what can we look forward to when it comes to artists? Can you give us a bit of a taster?
We've got over 20 artists, which is absolutely awesome. And it's really difficult to highlight just a few of them because they all are very talented artists in their own rights. So I just want to preface by apologising if I don't cover everybody in our conversation today because they are amazing. So please do go and check out makingzen.com to see the full list of artists. Let me see some of the artists who I'd love to share with you. Well, we've got artists from all over the globe joining, which is super cool. And so from Australia, we've got Ellie Beck, who's known as Petal Plum, and she does a whole lot of beautiful slow stitching and natural dye processes. So she's going to be sharing with us how she does those kind of things. We've also got Lisa Mattock, who also is going to be sharing us how to do slow stitch woodland mushrooms. And I've seen pictures of them, so I can't wait to see how she demonstrates how we do that as well. So they look like just delightful little projects to work on. We've got Erica from Japan, and she is going to demonstrate how to make a tenmari ball, the balls, those beautiful balls that are wrapped with string. So I'm really excited to see the process of that. We have Merjan Beelen, who's also known as Merjan Textiles. She's joining us from Holland, and she does these beautiful stitched peach pieces that look like cell structures.
Wow.
Yeah, they're absolutely stunning. So she's going to share how to create an artwork using, I think it's the blanket stitch. So it's a very simple technique, but the way you put it together makes these very beautiful patterns or motifs. Then we've got a whole lot of beautiful quilt artists. We've got Heidi Parks and Amanda Nardik, and they do some really beautiful improv quilting. So I'm really excited to have them share their handiwork as well. We've got Selina joining us, who I understand. Yes, you've spoken with her before. And she's going to be sharing with us some of her beautiful applique mending processes. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. We've got all kinds of great things. There's Liz Kettle doing prayer flags or studio flags, which I just love the idea of. And that's going to be multimedia, collage, stitching, printing, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to learn a whole lot of new skills there. And she has also very generously provided as a bonus for those who purchase the VIP bundle, how to make silk paper. So she's provided a course on that. I know. So, I mean, that in itself has got me intrigued. I've done regular paper making, but silk paper making sounds like a whole lot of fun. What else have we got? Oh, my goodness, we've got so many great things. Lisa Goddard, she's coming in from the UK, and she is mixed media and books. But what attracted me to Lisa's work is she's very much using textiles in her artwork. And so she's going to share with us how to make a book cover or a journal using textile techniques. So I'm absolutely thrilled by that. And that kind of builds on something that Emma Freeman was working with us from the last Making Zen Retreat.
Yeah.
Yes, where she was talking about making a stitched book as a way of thinking and stitching and just the whole Zen process there. It's such a rich experience. It really is. So it's full of so many wonderful artists. And not to mention yourself.
Oh, look, I'm always
just
happy
to, put you
to
on
contribute.
The spot.
Yeah, thank you. But there's also Katrine of Mending Mayhem. So we've got Selina and Katrine who have been on the podcast before. Yeah.
Yes. And isn't that wonderful? It's such a lovely community of textile artists. It's just going to be such a treat. It really is. I think for textile artists and people who like making with their hands, it's a bit like being a kid in a lolly store. So many fun things.
I mean, that whole week, just going to have to put time aside to make sure that I go through every single one of those presentations. And listeners, you'll be happy to know that in the lead up to Making Zen Retreat, we'll be having some of the artists on the podcast so that you can hear about them.
Yes, and that's just wonderful. So you'll be able to hear a little bit more about their processes and what they do and just their approach to creating. It's always wonderful to hear.
You've brought together so many wonderful artists that I think from someone like myself who has only ever sewn clothes, it gives me the ability to look at various perspectives and skill development to apply to what I've got. So I'm really thankful that you're giving me the opportunity to have access to these people and their skill sets. Thank you so much from me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And that's why I do this, because it is really the opportunity for people to build on their skills. So, you might not have done much hand sewing before. So this is a really nice, gentle introduction to doing hand sewing. Or you might have seen quilting, but been maybe a little bit scared by how precise it needs to be. And so that's what's really wonderful with Heidi and Amanda, because they have a wonderful approach that I feel is a little bit more inviting and engaging. So it's a really good entry level there. And so many wonderful artists sharing their techniques that I think it's really very warm and welcoming. So it's a wonderful way to build on your experience or get started if you're thinking about something but haven't quite got there yet to try it out.
From my perspective from last year, there were artists there that provided their skills to us which opened my mind to, okay, maybe I can use that here, there, or on a project, on a future project, which, is still in the back of my mind to apply. That I'm really thankful that you're running Making Zen Retreat again this year, so that it gives me something else to look at and then have that in mind to eventually apply to a project. So, as I said, thank you so much for putting on Making Zen Retreat, Kate.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Maria.
Kate, thank you again for coming onto the podcast and telling us about Making Zen Online Retreat. Last year's retreat was very inspiring, and I know that listeners will enjoy the variety of artists that are going to be on the retreat this year, again from the 2nd to the 6th of May.
Yes, please come and check it out. So it's at makingzen.com, and you have the opportunity to participate for free for 24 hours. If you want to purchase and get the whole package, there's a limited time offer for the first 15 minutes. You can get the whole retreat for $49, and then that price goes up as we get closer to the event starting. It will be $97. And then once the event runs, it's $147. So if it's something that you really like the idea of and you love the idea of all the artists and what they're sharing with you, then I would recommend getting that $49 ticket, because it's over probably about $2,000 worth of value that every artist is sharing with us. So yeah, it's the most amazing experience. It really is.
It sounds very worthwhile.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you again, Kate.
You're welcome. It's always a lovely time to chat with you, Maria. It's lovely.
Oh, look, I always look forward to chatting with you as well, whether it's for the podcast or not.
Me too.
Have a lovely day, listeners. This is episode 320 on So Organised Style podcast, produced by me, Maria Theoharis, with permission of Kate Ward for the Making Zen Online Retreat. Sound by bensound.com. You can subscribe to So Organised Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you subscribe to So Organised Style podcast to hear from some of the textile artists that will be on this year's Making Zen Online Retreat. Katrine of Mending Mayhem and Selina of Selina AM05 on Instagram are some of the textile artists on this year's Making Zen Online Retreat that you can go back to listen to their previous podcasts. Making Zen Online Retreat is coming up on the 2nd to the 6th of May. I hope you can help us with the production of this podcast through our Patreon account. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.